Yeah, boy.
Nice. Um,
Yeah, boy. Oh, life is good. This is very exciting. We're going to talk to a major league crusher.
Major League.
I was just watching her video of her setting the record there in 2016.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was wondering, I didn't really I just when I was quickly doing the research, I was noting down things and I hadn't watched that particular video. No, maybe I did, but I didn't watch the sound. I didn't really pay attention. So one of my questions that I had asked to myself on my notes that I wanted to bring up was it the 360 turnaround that you set the record with? And it was.
I saw you have that in the notes. I'm
And
trying to call Jen on the
I just watched that and it's
hey,
a pink.
we're back on there, Jennifer.
A pink wraith is my absolute numero uno. I look
Oh, this
down here
damn
because I
camera's
think
not working. Fuck. Yeah. How do you like this every time?
there she is.
Hey, I'm hanging up. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
No, through my damn phone. God dang it. Okay. Talk again.
Can you hear us now?
Okay.
Why? That makes no sense.
Why is this not working?
Everything's not working.
There we
Everybody's
go.
got
There we go.
comments. There we go.
I got that part. Man, I used to go around the country fucking semis full of shit and make it all work, and now I got all this
I,
crap on the table and I can't make it work.
I even had my 17-year-old like get on there and like basically click the exact same crap I clicked. He's like, well, this should work. Didn't work.
Is Kelson 17?
17. I'm gonna be 18 in September.
Okay, can we talk about the tornado on show?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool. All right, is there anything that we can't talk about?
Nope.
Perfect.
We've so first of all, let me introduce myself.
Oh
I'm
yeah, by the
Paul,
way.
aka Mr.
Paul
B.
Bellier.
Mace is my best American friend. I'm his best Canadian friend.
Nice.
I probably was at a few tournaments you might have been at in the early 2000s, but
Okay.
I haven't really been part of the PDGA we left in 2005 to create our own non-sanctioned series of tournaments around the province of Ontario, mainly just in a way for development, but also in a way to just relax, party, and have some drinks while we're playing the game.
Yeah.
And we all, just camp out tournaments, and it's kind of in the mode of the October Frizz. We try to do that seven
Nice.
times a year. So I've been still involved in the game a little way, getting back more into it in this dimension. But for the big Toronto Island tournament that happens on Labor Day, I'm the host with the most roasts and the monster ceremonies. I introduce everyone. It's a tea
Nice.
time tournament, so I introduce everybody, and I take the chance to turn it into a boast or a roast session.
Nice.
So you could be standing on the tee, and all of a sudden I'm referencing something from your past, and you're like, "What the? Is he talking about me?" So in that vein, how we start is I give a little intro. I have maybe it's I don't know minute 75-second intro to just pump you up, introduce you as if you're on the tee with us. And the way the we're gonna go, we're gonna touch on obviously the first thing we want to talk about is the origin story, how you got in the game. Mace is gonna want to talk to you about the tornado story, and
Yep.
we've got a few things we'd like to talk about, but this is up to you and how long you want to go with each section. So it's not, we're not going to force any issues. We're not going to force any, okay, now we have to step on to the next one. We're just going to let it flow.
Just let it flow. That's fine.
But our basic idea is.
What's up, Kelson?
I was going to say, you're fine.
How you doing, my man?
Do you want him to try this one more time or no?
It's up to you.
I'll let him try it one more time because I don't think we have to close this down. I have it pulled up on the side. So, okay.
I wonder if it's inside the Zoom.
I need a computer technician too.
Oh,
he said maybe it's inside here.
Yes. I hear the sound of brilliance.
Right? I know. Let me unplug this.
Can you hear us now?
See, it says default to speakers, but why the hell can I hear?
We can hear you. Can't hear us.
We can definitely hear you.
That should be it. That speaker.
And I couldn't believe
Nada.
how easy traffic was today. Like
That's
just
stupid.
that changed something. That changed something. Can you hear us now?
Yep.
All right.
Nice.
He did it. Way to go.
Kids.
I don't know what your generation is
tell
called,
ya.
but it's the greatest generation yet to live. Way to go, buddy.
Just keep this in mind later, Kelson. You can throw it back on her. Go. Remember when I?
Yeah, that's right.
Good to see you, buddy.
Okay, cool.
So just really just in a nutshell, our whole thing here is we want to tell the stories of disc golf. We want to, obviously there's
Yep.
current stories, but you know, where we come from, the old school, a lot of the kids, they think they invented the wheel and they don't know what came, the struggle, the beginning. So we
That's what I
wanna-
love about the PDJ radio. All the guests I try to get on there are the beginning.
Cool.
Like,
Is that what you're doing? Is that what your podcast is? The PDJ Radio?
Mhm.
Nice.
yeah.
Right on.
So it's not live. We pre-record it. It's not, it's just audio only. So I use the headphones and I never have to really unhook it.
Sure.
Do you want me, before we get going, to share this one more time?
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
Is it a live
Definitely.
thing? Like people just jump on?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
make it live like when we're ready to go. If you guys are ready to go, I'm ready to go. And I
Ready
can
to
make
go.
it live and then you can share that one more time as well. Good to
Okay,
go?
let me just copy. Yep.
All right. I'm going to live on Facebook.
Says we're still in practice session though.
Oh yeah.
No, can he do it without cutting out?
Okay, got it. Okay. Start webinar. Here we go. Hey, and nothing went away either. Hey!
Still there.
Now
right,
I can
well-
crawl at least.
I'll see if I can tag you, Paul. Is that your Facebook name is the same?
I don't have a
He
Facebook
doesn't.
account, but Insta, it's Mr. B, like spelled out.
Got
right
it.
there, At
Got
Mr. B O Detour. Okay, cool.
I'm just gonna
All
put,
right, so everybody, we're back. We're live, and thanks
All
for
right.
stopping by. Due to some lack of, well, basically due to a lack of
our knowledge.
our knowledge and my internet service at my shop, we got ready to start the show over there, and it said that you've used 80% of your high-speed service for the month, and I was just like, oh great, so this is gonna fail. And like that's what I got. You know, the rotator. I was trying to do some billing on QuickBooks the last time that happened, and it couldn't even, like, I couldn't go to just to a simple page. It was just like the bottom fell out. So
Going for now.
So welcome to Good Times Hour, another new podcast, Good Times Hour with Mace Man and Mr. B. And let's just jump right into it, shall we?
yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from around the world, please welcome to the tee our very special guest. She's the queen of nice with ice in her veins as she drives the green. With 2 pins in her elbow, she's no Simone Biles, but this crusher is all styles, especially when it comes to the big throw. She's the Sooner fan that turned pro sooner than anyone you know. She's the leader of all cheer squads and den mother to the young golf gods, the original mom that drops bombs. She turned down Purdue to dominate the course with the select few. Stop, drop, and zip fizz. Oh, what a relief it is anytime she's back in OK, where her chakras run on Ted Stockos and Brob's banana split bombs. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, from Arizona by way of Oklahoma, the #1 Masters in the world and the rightful owner of the long distance record, the dominant, the ageless, and the unrelentingly positive, Jennifer Allen.
That was like
There
the
you
best
go.
intro ever.
Right
That
on.
was awesome. You did a lot of research.
I did some research. You know, I do my homework. I'm still
That's
Paul
awesome.
really-
school, but
that's one of the things that Paul's really, really good at, is digging in and like finding the details. And like that time back in the day when he, Joe, and I were like probably the first time we had video at USGGC, most of what Paul was doing, he was just like buried in the computer, just going, "Oh, wait, I'll be right there. I'll be right there." And he comes with all this different information. And he's ever since I was just like going, "Oh yeah, he's a researcher. He's on it."
That's awesome. Well, nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you officially. Thank you for joining us on the show. This is really wonderful,
Yeah.
awesome to be able to speak with you. You are an absolute crusher out there. You really are. Long distance record holder. You are just crushing it on tour. You've got 3 wins so far this year, 4 seconds, and a top 10 finish at the DGPT in Vegas.
Thanks.
You're all in the FPO division, the unprotected age division. You're doing it all, showing the kids how it goes. But let's take it back to the start.
Okay.
You're from Norman, Oklahoma. You, as I mentioned, as I referenced, a cheerleader. How did you find out about disc golf? What's the origin story of Jennifer Allen?
Well, as Mace knows, my ex-husband, my kid's father, lived on the golf course, basically hole 2's tee pad. And so when we met and started dating, they were always at the course. And so I'm just one of those girls. I'm not going to walk around with the boys. I can do it too. And so I took one and I could throw it pretty well. I also had some incredible teachers. I mean, so many old school, Mitch, Clint, all the boys, in Norman, Oklahoma, that are incredible. So they taught me how to throw the disc well, different shots, how to use my brain and kind of look at different shots and kind of not just take what's in front of you, maybe look up or look down or around and try to find a hole or gap. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of women there. So I had to compete with the boys and play with the boys. So that pushes you to play with them, and not meaning walk with them, not be all the way behind them. And so I just felt like I always kind of kept up with them a little bit.
I know it's I've heard you give interviews where you talk about trying to get women to the game and trying to get them away from just strictly playing, as the beginning, as the adjunct to the guy who's playing. And that's always been the thing. It's always hard to get women into the game. And so women need to have that encouragement and positivity. And for you to just kind of step up there and shoot with, especially the McClellan brothers.
They always made it a good time.
Well, yeah.
No question about it. No question about it.
So there you are in 1999. Is that when you started?
It is.
Okay.
Maybe very end of 98, I was exposed to it, but didn't really play until probably that winter, and then into 99, and then went to AM Worlds in Kansas City in 99.
Okay. I remember that. So yeah, that and like in 99, that was when I met you and Kelly before AM Worlds.
Yeah.
And so we just will get right into it.
Yeah. Probably the best but worst meeting ever, or time.
Yeah,
ever.
I mean, like, and like, yeah, it definitely very, very strange. So I had Mace Band doubles back in the day, pretty much ran them from 99 through 08. Grassroots, Pro-Am, it was random draw with a Pro-Am split. So all the AMs got a pro player. Like if you played pro at the local mini, then you certainly weren't playing AM at that event, So we show up, it's bad weather, of course. They manufacture tornadoes in Oklahoma, especially central Oklahoma, like
and
more.
they predict this like days in advance. Like we had major warning, like everything is coming together, but we're still gonna play.
So we show up and thunder rumbles for solid for 30 minutes, but there's no horns, no sirens. Everything's still
not
fine.
a raindrop.
Not the same person on every radio station. I mean, every radio station. And so we're like, okay, well, we're going to play. Thunder rolls literally for like 30 minutes while we're playing, never stops. And then the horns blow. So we all come back to the parking lot. I offer everybody a cash refund or a merchandise refund. And so naturally everybody digs through the boxes and send everybody on their way. And then the sun comes out. And so it's literally like, there's like one other person besides Kelly and Jennifer and I. And that person's family rolled up in a minivan with a little portable tube TV plugged
Hey,
in a
let's
cigarette
back up.
lighter.
Let's back up that
Okay, go
we
ahead, go
were
ahead.
partners.
Huh?
Let's back up that we drew partners, correct?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we drew partners and
And
the
Mitch Mack's on the card. On top of it, the head of the entertainment committee's on the card. So I mean,
yeah. And the thunder that he mentioned, to me, I remember it being like if you put a bass speaker on the sky, it just rumbled. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't like lightning and thunder. It was like just a rumble
It was
bass
steady.
speaker that just shook the sky continuously.
it was steady. It didn't stop.
No, and right before the sirens, not horns for the tournament, the city sirens blew
Yeah,
to take
Get
cover.
the hell out of here, sirens.
Yeah. I threw it in from like halfway up hole 4 or 5, hole 5. That was my
Oh,
my shiny
Oh, right, right.
moment.
That's in the back too, right? That one in the
Oh.
okay. So we were about as far back in that
A
back corner.
stupid hard hole, like a really
Yeah.
hard hole, and I threw it in from like 200 feet.
Oh, this is like Caddyshack right here.
No, it was like this is the best moment. So we had to go back and tell this story because like that was my one of my most memorable moments.
Yeah, yeah. So that, and I mean, like, it's amazing, and like to play that course back then, like, and that course was already like 25, 30 years old at that point, right? I mean,
At least 20. Yeah.
because I noticed, like, well, we're gonna get to this in a second, but your first pro tournament or your first pro win was the 21st Norman Pro-Am.
Yeah.
Okay, and so they're in the 40s now.
They are I
Six-
think due to COVID, they jumped wintertime for the longest running stretch. Wintertime had to skip a year because California shut down and Oklahoma
Mhm.
didn't. So I think from as much statistics that I've heard is the Norman Pro-Am is one of or the longest running tournaments ever.
The only
Is
one
it-
that could, Rochester might be able to contest you on that one.
Okay. So
Right.
it's up there though. It's definitely mid 40s.
So that
Well-
takes us, what, the late 70s, early 80s?
And I think I have like 20 wins there. I think.
Oh, hold on a
Oh,
second.
we're gonna
hold
get to
on, hold
that.
on.
We're gonna get
Let
to
me
that.
let me help you with those.
Hey,
Okay.
now,
with
but
those
wait,
details.
Okay.
So
Nate,
We'll
you
skip
won
that.
the
Let's go
first
back to tornadoes.
you won the first one. Yeah, no shit, tornadoes, but you got more tornadoes to your credit than this, I'm sure. Okay, so you won the 21st Pro-Am, right? And then you won all of them through the 30th. So you won 21
Wow.
through 30, and then you won number 32, 35 through 38, and then 40 and 41. So you won 17 out of the 21 that you, well, I don't know how many you
I
played.
didn't play.
That's,
Like
you
the
were
seven-
saying that. You
So,
were saying
so
that.
from the 21st through the 41st, you won 17 of 21. I didn't
Dang.
look as hard as I needed to find out about the other, whether you
I
took
think I
second
moved-
in any of those. But
No, I don't think so. I think I just moved or was gone or whatever. I know I
I
played
figured-
when I was pregnant with Michaela. So I played
Oh,
in 01 because I have a guy that comes up to me every year. I don't even know who it is. And he's like, you beat me when you were 7 months pregnant. Like, sorry.
yeah,
But
he's not forgetting it.
yeah, I probably took off with the boys. I know I came back and played a couple after I moved or when I was moving. But yeah, I always tried to play that event. And I still, not gonna lie, when I make my schedule, I look and see like, where am I? Even being here, like, is that a time? Because it's usually the time that my kids go back to Oklahoma for the summer.
Hmm.
So if I can make it, I do, or like I want to, but it's
Yeah,
hard.
for sure,
So
for sure. So let's finish the tornado
Dominant.
story really quick. So we're in the parking lot, everybody gets their stuff and they head on their ways, whatever. And I don't remember who that guy was whose family came in the minivan, but they had that TV. And so we started
Yes.
watching and you know, like this was before smartphones. This was like paper atlases and
like
a course
plug in
directory,
TV, like plug in.
spiral course directory. Like this is how we got around back then. And they had that TV in their car. And I was relying on y'all's knowledge of the area.
Yeah.
Like going, oh yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we-
there's no problems. This is cool. And the sun came out. So the three of us, me, you, and Kelly, we're sticking stickers on Kelly's truck. Meanwhile, your house is getting ripped limb for limb.
Yes.
I don't remember all the details. I've heard details and I probably over embellished at times, but I've told
I
that story. a
remember
few
like
times.
we still didn't know. Like I knew it hit Newcastle, but I had called, and I think in the parking lot, I called my parents' home line and they didn't answer. And it rang and rang and rang and rang. And I thought, man, that's really weird. We've got an answering machine, that's weird. In the meantime, I think we all went and like hid in a car wash, like for the hell, I believe. So we were still hiding in Norman. But then, like you said, like storm passed, everything's good. So I was like, I just got this gut feeling they're not answering their phone. I believe I even called the police department because my parents worked for it. And the dispatcher had said, yeah, I spoke to your mom, or I heard your dad on the radio, I think is what it was. I heard your dad on the radio. He was giving in like damage reports. They're fine. I'm like, okay. But I just still had that gut feeling. And so I was living in Norman at the time. And I told Kelly, I was like, we got to go. Like, I want to go look, like something's not right. And so we headed off from Norman to Newcastle, and then like you pass all the big gas stations like Love's, and they were all had a sign that said closed due to tornado, but there was no damage until we got right to almost 1 mile in front of, or like before we could get to my parents' house, there's an intersection. And we pulled up to this intersection, and there's like every cop besides the Newcastle cop, like every kind of county around Washington, like there was not a Newcastle cop. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, where's the Newcastle cop? And they're like, they're busy. You need to go around, this road's closed. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere else. My parents live right there. I'm driving through, walking through, escort me through. I don't care. I'm going. And so they kindly let me through. And I remember pulling up, and my parents have like a 1/4 mile long driveway. And there was a telephone pole across their driveway, and all you could see was like sky. Like there was not a tree, there was not a house. It was just flat land as far as you could see. And so Kelly couldn't drive to the house because of the pole. And so I just jumped out of the truck, I think still running, and probably ran the fastest I've ever ran in my entire life. Because there was a fire truck at my parents' house because of a gas line. We learned later that they were just trying to make sure it wasn't leaking. And so, yeah, the highest winds ever recorded, my parents' house or the driveway was on the cover of Time magazine, 314 miles per hour, lost everything. So that was one of my good memories with Mace.
Yeah, meanwhile, while all that's going on, we were goofing off at the park. And it's just like, oh, when I heard that, and then I saw y'all later in the summer, and like really told me, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah, it was
and then
everything.
the next year, when
happened?
I left here to go to Norman, it's like cats and dogs and not quite hail, but everything short of that. And so 2 years in a row is like almost the same identical situation,
Yeah, that tornado line was taken 3 times exactly. Like that's why they call it Tornado Alley, because it literally went that exact same line. I have a coworker I used to work with that lived in Moore who lost their house 3 times. Move.
It's so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So
my cousins live there and Moore, and one time they got a shelter in their backyard after one of those storms.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb now is like in his late 20s, and he's an EMT south of Norman in that area of Oklahoma.
They just got hit last week.
And like apparently Raymond and Caleb, like they're standing outside the door of the thing, just watching them go over, and then Silas down there, get down here, just oh yeah, we probably should take shelter.
Yeah, right by the weather station, because when we were just back in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago, and we went to pick up my daughter's friend, and she lives just by campus, and it took out, if you remember, like the putt and go-kart place. I don't remember what it was called, Perfect Putt or whatever. They're on Highway 9 and the gas station. It was right by, used to take that road, I think, to like go play Noble or something, but it took all that out. Like they just had a tiny little twister pop up out of nowhere and just did a ton of damage a few weeks ago.
Constantly rearranging the geography of Oklahoma.
Yes, it is. So, So I don't really run from tornadoes. We kind of miss the rain and storms here in Arizona. The monsoons are okay. They're not quite as exciting. We don't get our awesome weather people from Oklahoma to say get Val on the Getner. We don't get to play those drinking games, the tornado drinking games. We don't get to play those in here in Arizona. But
See, I mean, I've lived in Tornado Alley all my life, but not in the part that you lived in.
Yeah.
I've never heard of any of this stuff.
Oklahomans know, like we are trained and for sure. One of my scariest probably tornado moments though was when we were leaving Waco. My daughter had went down with me. It was not the Waco event. It was like in January, but I wanted to go down and play that event because I was going to Australia, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I wanted like a good warm-up event.
You're talking about this year, aren't you?
No, I'm talking
Oh.
years ago.
Okay.
Maybe like 4 years ago or something. Whenever they cleared Dallas, the Cowboys Stadium. If you remember when they emptied and had everybody get out of the Cowboys Stadium, I had left. And Steven like showed me the radar and he's like, you go now or stay, like one or the other.
Right.
And so we left and we got up the road and our phones were going off like crazy to take cover. And so Michaela and I pulled over, got gas, sat there for like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, it must be gone. Get on the highway, no more, go a few miles. And it was raining so hard, I couldn't see. And I just happened to be right by an exit. So I got off the highway, 35. There was a house. I pulled right up to their garage door and was like, if stuff starts flying, we're going in this house. I don't know if they're home or not. We're going in. And so needless to say, the trees weren't flying. So we just sat there in the car. And once it stopped and went through, I tried to get back on I-35 and it was shut down. The tornado had went right there. And so we had to detour around. And then we got all the way up to Dallas and same thing. Sirens go off on our phones, raining so hard I can't see. Exit. There's a cop in the middle of the intersection that blinded me with his lights trying to get people off the highway. So ended up like driving on the wrong way just because I couldn't see anything. And we got into a gas station, sat there for another 30 minutes or so. And then finally got home like 8 hours later. It was the most stressful.
Wow.
My daughter literally was calling my parents, like crying, like, I love you, like giving her goodbyes. That was like,
Oh,
the
man.
scariest moment. It was not worth playing Waco. You wake up with like stress, like knots, it was, horrible drive.
Well, I tell you, I mean, I when I learned how to play, I learned to play on the Toronto Island, and it's very protected from the winds there. And I don't even know how on a daily basis the winds you have to face are like, to us, tornado level winds. You're probably
Right.
like, oh, this is just a light breeze.
Right.
I want to share my screen here, and oh, I can't share my screen. You've disabled I can't
Oh.
do that. I wanted to talk to you about your long distance
Okay.
record.
Okay.
And I was gonna bring that video up, and it was a very windy day, or it looked like the feathers were vibrating.
it's-
pretty heavily.
That made it look,
Try
so
again now, Paul.
I broke my record on the very first day. There's 3 days in the desert. It's a tournament, just like any other event. Ooh, we're gonna get all your personal information.
Oh, that's all the stuff he learned about you.
Like that seems to me,
I believe it was
Good.
16 miles per hour, if I remember correctly.
I don't even know what that is. We're metric up here.
Oh,
That
yeah,
seems like
sorry. It's not-
150.
It's not horrible. That banner does look like it's like blowing absolutely ridiculous. But it was kind of felt like a normal Oklahoma day. You
Yeah,
know what I
that-
mean? Like
That right there.
Like
you
white
did the
caps in your
360.
bathtub kind of day.
maybe, yeah.
So this is the actual throw that you set the record with, a full 360, eh?
No,
Oh, it wasn't.
no. I set it on the very first throw.
Okay.
Those were at the end and I was just kind of having funsies with it.
Oh, because I was gonna say, let's just replay that, because that was that's and mom's
Yeah.
so this is it.
That was it. The very first.
Honestly, your form is incredible, and I mean, I don't know.
It's
how you-
funny. I wish that I would have learned, back in the day, we didn't watch YouTube or anything. You just threw. The boys tell me reach back as far as you can. I did. They didn't tell me what to do with my other arm. I wish I would have learned to keep that left arm down tight I've
Mhm.
tried, like I work on it now and sometimes it happens and it looks really good. But if I'm just trying to throw super hard, it doesn't stay down.
But honestly, the way that how far back you reach and how
Yeah.
low you dip down, you can see the winding up of power right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember you talking, I think it was to Chelsea. You did an interview with her with Innova, and you were
Mhm.
talking about, especially for women, where you can get strength. A lot of
Right.
use your strength is your core and your hips. And when you reach down that low, I mean, your compact precision power with that. That's an inspiration. All women should be watching this video.
Well, thank you. As you notice, I'm not really tall. So, so I don't have like your distance throwers. If you think about, Simon and Eagle and Gannon Burr and all these guys, they look like Gumby,
But
they've got these
Simon's not
long-
that tall. I mean, the guys you just mentioned, he's by far the shortest.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
he's
Eagle and
still got
Gannon
that-
are like at least a
Wingspan.
head taller than him.
Yeah. Okay. AB.
AB is another one that's super tall. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah. But their
like,
arms
you
are
just
so
gotta-
long.
let's
And
go
there's-
look up at him
Yeah, he's
sideways and go, holy
6'5"
cow.
now. Yeah, 6'5". But their arms are so long, right? And so I was always taught it's physics. So the further you can reach back, the more spin and power you generate on that disc before you release it. So I don't have long arms. So I thought, like I've got to get everything I have and use that slingshot, but then try to get the power of the slingshot, not from the length of my arm, but from my muscles.
Mhm.
So
And
that
I
was
noticed
thought
you kind of you rotate your wrist down and out, and so your elbow kind of pops. That it seems like that generates more force for you that way.
I'm just double jointed.
too.
This one's not as bad though, because this is the one with pins.
Oh,
So
there's that keeps it.
it's a
keeps
little
it
straighter.
Well, so all right, so I want to throw something out and because what you're talking about, and someone just posted on the chat on Facebook too about Emerson Keith. He throws
Yeah.
pretty far for a small guy, and I
Right.
mean, you can go all the way back to like the mid '90s when Brad Hammock
Brad Hammock.
burst on the scene, and he's not big at all, and he was one of the
No.
first small people. And I mean, and that's not. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's good.
He was one of the first shorter
Yes.
statured person
Right.
that I ever saw that could throw over 400, and not very many people could do it at all back then.
And not that I could say as a cute little story that might embarrass Brad, but I'll save it. Maybe you can get it out
No,
of
go
me.
ahead. That's
I think
fine.
you should. You should
He's
say
not
it.
watching.
What I was going to say was it's not that shorter people can't do it. We just have to have more precise timing, more, generate our power differently. It maybe harder, maybe not, but we just have to throw it, I think, differently. Heidi Lane from Europe. I don't know exactly.
Hede Line. That's how
Okay.
she taught me how to pronounce her name.
Perfect.
It's one of the few things I
Oh,
retain from the
Line.
distance.
Sounds
But
like
yeah,
a
you're
name.
right. She's
She's-
a good example of it. And
Yeah,
and
we're a
there's
lot
of
alike.
them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shorter, stockier. We get our strength from our hips, glutes, core. And so it's not that you can't do it. And like you said, Emerson's tiny anyways.
Well, and
But
he's got
he-
an added benefit of growing up playing too. And I'd say the same thing about Paige.
Yeah,
Paige is not
tiny.
a large frame person, but she goes
No.
far,
Yeah.
especially for the size of her frame.
Right.
And
I think it's
that has to
timing
do with starting as like a 9-year-old
Mhm.
and throwing, your muscles develop with your game. I mean,
Right.
that's obvious. And that's you see that in other sports too.
I agree. What do
But
you
yeah,
think, Paul?
It's amazing.
Well, I watched Brad. The first time I saw Brad throw, I'm like, who the hell is this little piker right there? And and especially with his, I don't know, I mean, anybody's ever seen him play. The first time you see him play, he's got that where he turns all the way back
Yeah.
and looks at you. He's
Yeah.
standing as far away from his sight as possible, and he's, what did I do? And then all of a sudden he uncorks this thing, and you're like, I can't even see that far. I mean, even with these thick spectacles, I can't see that far. But I mean, it is one of those things that people have always said that people with those spidery,
Mhm.
long eagle type range with the wingspan, that they can throw farther. But really, I've always seen it more as a spring. The body is a
Yeah.
spring. Everything
A
makes it
slingshot.
rotate. if it all works together in the same motion and the same timing,
Mhm.
and you've got the right muscles that ground it and core it, and that could release all that energy at the right time,
Right.
that's the secret of. And I mean, you set the world record. Someone else eventually is going to come along and break it.
Yep.
But
for
let me
sure.
ask you this: you're at 173.3 meters, I believe, is what it is.
Yeah.
What was the record before that?
I don't recall exactly. I think it was right around 500, like 506 or
Oh, so
something like.
you
I
really,
think I got it pretty good.
wow.
And it might have been a little bit more than that, but I know it was over 5, but I don't believe it was by much. But I will go back and state, because I get this every year on the whole wind hoopla. I don't know if there was any footage on the third day, on Sunday. I think I did it Friday. Saturday, there was 0 wind. The boys didn't even show up. Just the girls came out and we played all the fun games like rollers, forehand. I was like 0.5 from breaking the overhand throw. And when they told me that, I'd already broke the mini record. So I threw, I think the mini record for females like 309 or something like that. So I won that. 309 feet, not, so 97 meters, maybe something like that. But we were doing all the field event games. And so, yeah, they told me I was just a hair short on throwing the overhand. So I was like, I can grunt. I can get that much more distance. Like, that's no problem. I don't even throw that shot. And so I tried to give it my all, hyperextended my elbow, and I was pretty much done. So I didn't even, I tried 1 throw on the last day. I didn't even do 5. You get 3 sets of 5. So the last day, it was literally so windy that 90% of the shots didn't even go half the distance you typically throw.
Wow.
So that's what,
Interesting.
yeah, and that's what I want to like get on, like, and just debate forever, but I'm also kind of sick of having to defend that every single year. So I am gonna like tell Innova, do not celebrate David and I's record. We broke them on different days. And I will even throw one out for Simon. Simon threw a shot we could never see. It probably was very close to beating or beat David's, but it was so dusty because of the wind, you couldn't see it. And he, you know, they throw those peach colored bosses. I believe that's what he threw too. Yeah, so we couldn't see it. We found it later, like a mile away, but I'm sure it rolled
Good.
quite a
Yeah,
ways.
I heard Stokely told me that he like, as he was getting out, like he opened the door to get out of the car the first time he ever went there, and it just went out and started doing that
Yeah.
flop roll. And he said it went 1,000 feet doing that. Like it gained momentum, like it barely was moving. And then
I swear there's
and
got to
then
be
the wind
something
just
in
kept
the
bringing
earth.
it back,
Yeah.
and then it started tacking, you know, and
Well,
Yeah.
that's close to Area
so-
51, right? We don't know what's going on.
No,
over
that's
there.
what that was what I said. And I only said that when I think the Frisbees flew kind of the same. But they did stand up and wobble like forever. I guess because there's no grass, and it is the perfect place to do it because they put a stake for the day. And if the wind changes, or if you're a righty or lefty, they move that other pin. But the initial tee is planted at the beginning of the day, and that doesn't change for the rest of the day. What was I gonna say? I lost it. I was watching you was
I
walking
had
by.
a question about I see that you were throwing, I know that you set the record with a Wraith.
Yeah.
Were they all the same weight, same color? Did they give you a stack to throw?
So interesting enough, they sent me some flat bosses to practice with, which I still throw for forehand occasionally. But Suzette went to the factory and just grabbed a bunch of lightweight discs, and her and Karina, and they just dumped them on the ground. So I think I grabbed 5 of them, and I think they were all the exact same colors, and around 151 to 152, I believe.
Right.
So,
Well, I
was gonna say, so the wind, yeah. So the first day, wind, crazy, like I would say it was going from 15 to maybe 18 max. Like it was just a steady wind. Second day, no wind, so the girls did all the fun games. Third day was crazy gusting, like ridiculous. And like we even turned the RVs just in case so they wouldn't blow over. You know, it was like that windy.
Wow.
And so for a while, like they couldn't even throw. And so they kind of waited for it to calm down. And you're talking like we've got the furthest throwing men out there, right? Double G, all of them are there. And most of them couldn't even get like 500 feet, like because the wind smashes down. You have a, you know, a tailwind, what's it do? It smashes it down. So people are like, oh, it's so easy to throw. It was so windy. Have you tried throwing in a 50-mile-per-hour wind? How far did it go as far as you normally throw?
Right.
Or did it go less? So every year they're like, oh, it was so easy because you just threw it in the wind. No,
Well, it's easy to sit at home. It's easy to sit at home and talk shit about anything. I mean, like, think about, I mean, you could say the same thing about probably the first 4 or 5 years, nobody from California came to USCGC. Because we're not doing that. Rope's stupid. That's bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. That's not, I mean, and then those guys came out there and the course handed them their asses and they're like, holy shit, I mean, like, well, how did this happen? It's like, we never saw this coming. And it's like, well, you can sit at home and talk all you want, but get out there and do it and then
get out there and try it. Yeah. They literally only got a few throws off correctly. And it took exact precise angle so it could carry with the wind, not smash down or flip over.
Right.
So to me, that makes the record even harder, right? Like that, asterisk it all you want, but it should be asterisk because that was almost impossible conditions. So yes, some wind will help. You get to that extreme level, it was not helpful. Ask any person there.
Okay, but isn't that at elevation though too?
It's not much. I don't think it's a super lot. I can do some Paul Googling here.
Yeah, because I wonder if that's what kind of factor that has in it. Because I mean, they say it's high desert, but I haven't ever been. Was that the last time anything was held
I
up
just
there?
put down 2000 or Las Vegas, and it's just south of there, and it's at 2000. So I don't think it affected it that much.
Yeah, but I guarantee you get in that conversation with the champ and he's going to go, yeah, well, let's go down there by the beach and throw, and let's see where and I've heard that stuff before too. And I think there's merit to it to some degree, but I mean, so you tuned it up. I mean, you picked a good spot and it worked, but like, okay, so pick a different spot and show if that works better. I mean, that's what I would counter with in that situation.
We tried to do an actual whiff diff. The only other time I threw an actual whiff diff competition was actually in Australia. The very first time I went, they had a qualifying, like, because you can't just be like, oh, look, I'm going to do this and measure it. That's not how it works. It's specific stuff that is measured, you recorded. It's pretty official. But we were right.
They have like requirements for the pitch of the land and everything, right? And like how much is available.
Yeah, everything. And there in Australia, we were pretty close right at the beach, and it was so humid. And it was actually, they set it up, they only had a kind of one area. So if I remember correctly, like the wind was really not at a good position, or if there was any at all, like it was just like a humid, moggy beach day. And we did not throw super well. We threw good shots, but nothing close to breaking records.
Well, and for you coming from the dry air and you just moved to Arizona, which is drier, to go to muggy.
Yeah.
I mean, the humid, nobody wants to play in humid conditions, but
it affects it.
If you're from Georgia, you're used to it at least, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just like if you're from Oklahoma, you're used to the wind.
Yeah. And the humidity usually, but yeah, I'm not a scientist, that's for darn sure. But the thickness of the air, it's having to, more stuff to fly through, right? It's slowing it down, where versus if it's maybe not clean, but thin air, it's going to fly faster or not have as much resistance. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's on a whole other week's worth of conversation. One guy says this, one guy says that, one guy says, what I mean? And he's just like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How do we figure this out? That's one thing that's cool that I think is going to come in the not too distant future too, is that like with all the other progress, like there's going to be people that go, oh, well, I do that for a living.
Yeah, I can do
Let me
that.
take this to work. Let me
Yeah,
take this to work with me and check this out for you.
yeah,
And because just because of the exposure that we're getting, we're bound to start meeting some people that are,
have equipment ready.
and just have like, and use it for something completely different and go, oh, let's check this out there. I mean, like, for example, the Lone Star Discs company, those people have been doing injection molding for years, and like
Right.
that. And they were like, oh, wait a minute.
We can do
I
that.
make those. And it's like, and now they're making them,
Yeah.
and doing well with it. So
Yeah.
hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you know what your win percentage is?
No, I don't look at numbers, but I was really curious, or not curious, that's the wrong word. It was very interesting when Statmando or whatever popped
Right.
up some stats on me the other day. I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well,
So
so your win percentage is 546.
that's pretty good for a pitcher, right?
That's really good. That's really good, period, Jennifer. Are
That's
you
good
kidding
for
me?
everybody. I
Like,
mean,
that's just over half the time you win.
only the
Like in
Boston
your whole
Bruins have a
career,
better
too,
record.
going back to the 21st Norman Pro-Am.
Yeah.
But
Um,
That's pretty. So part of that I'm saying that just to lead into this. Your energy is amazing. I mean, I've known you for a really long time, and I've seen you through a lot of different situations, and in a lot of different situations, and
Yep.
and so to me, like, I mean, I think all of this is still true of you, except for maybe the full-time physical therapist assistant. But you're a full-time single mom, obviously.
Yep.
Full-time physical therapist assistant, or are you backing off on the full-time on that?
I backed off as of, I think, April or May last year. I worked through the first of the season, and then I went on the road. So I think April. And I was like super stoked. You can finish your, go ahead. You
Okay,
sound
I got
like
two
it
more
more.
things to show, and then we're gonna go, and then we'll roll with this because I think
Okay.
you're already started. But obviously, full-time professional disc golfer, and then where do you get the energy from for all of this?
That's
I mean,
dwindling.
your youngest son's how old now?
14.
Okay, so you got them all like you
We're,
got them
we're
all in like I can leave right now mode.
yes
terms of
and
like-
no, but this is when they get in trouble.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's my point. I could
Yeah.
leave right now, and I could get in a whole lot of trouble just out down the street, and so
yeah. Yeah. So did the career the whole time, did the mom thing the whole time. I really think when I would leave, and we could do that, as you know, because tournaments were usually, if anything, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like that was like as stretched out as it usually got. So I did outpatient orthopedics for 14 years or so, which was all day, right? And I never really got time to practice. I was in the clinic from sun up to sundown. So then I switched to home health care. So I could kind of set my hours a little easier, didn't have to grind as hard, and was able to get out, practice a little bit more, and play a little bit more. I worked for Integris, which is our biggest hospital in Oklahoma. So their way of kind of sponsoring me, not as much as they did the Oklahoma City Thunder, but they would let me take off without using PTO. So if I,
nice.
yeah. So like when I went to Australia and I did the Vegas and Memorial for 2 weeks at a time, like, I just was off without pay.
Wow.
And then not really a quota, but kind of, we had, we were supposed to see about 30 patients a week, which is 5 a day or 6 a day. Sorry. And so as long as I saw most of my patients, like I could bust my tush and do like 8 to 10 a day sometimes, just working literally all day long, doing the notes all night long. And then try to head out like on a Wednesday afternoon or a Thursday early. I could still get to some of these big events. I just didn't have time to practice the course, And so it was a little frustrating because I knew I could compete with these top girls, but they were getting like 3-4 days practice and I was coming in, and I just never really felt like I had that consistency and confidence in that because I didn't have time to play. And so last year I finally, with Innova support and a few other things, I was able to say, you know what, we're going to just focus on golf. And we're not getting any younger. So I know I don't have a super long time to do this. So before I get to that point where I'm only playing masters divisions, I wanted to give it like one shot and see like if I actually had the time to work hard, train right, practice until I felt confident and could trust myself, and just see what could happen. And unfortunately, the very first year I did that, I was playing pretty good. I felt like starting off, and had a bad adjustment in Portland, and it really kicked myself because I won't publicly say we don't love chiropractors, but in physical therapy, it's a love-hate relationship. But I was just kind of, it was my birthday. The Portland Open was over with. We were done. My back was sore all week. The hips were out of alignment. And so I had him just like, hey, will you massage my back for a minute? And then we're out of here. They were waiting to take me to dinner. And he adjusted my back and really hurt me pretty good. And so me in my mind, I think, well, you've quit your job, so you can't go home and just rest. Like, you've got to stick this out. You've got to do what you can do. And somehow I managed to continue to cash, even though like the Beaver State, I literally was like in tears throwing the whole time, but I still think I got top 10 or something like that, in the rain. And then, finally got to where my back wasn't hurting me. And somewhere I was around some people, that was when COVID kind of flared back up a little bit. I had no symptoms except for I got like this cold sore. But I'd been around some people that kind of weren't feeling good. And last day, last hole of Worlds in Emporia, I go to throw an up shot, and one of the sharpest pains I've felt in my life, and literally just buckled and started crying. One of the marshals was right beside me and was like, do you need to quit? Like, do we need to get you off the course? And I'm like, absolutely not. I have one hole to play. I'm gonna throw left-handed if I have to. And still cashed, but tore a little bit of my pec. That took, I feel like, almost longer than my back to heal. But we had back-to-back majors. We had Worlds, and then we had Tim Zielinski. So I had back-to-back majors I was competing in, and then went straight to Vermont and MVP. And I wasn't about to drop out of any of those events, because I'd never played them. And I just don't quit. And so I played through that tear. The only event I did not cash in last year was MVP, and that shoulder was hurting. So went home, worked on it. I went to a massage therapist every single day, therapy on it myself every day, enough to come back to USDGC, throw pink, and finish out the year pretty solid. But I was so mad when it all got over with, because I was like, this is the first year you were training hard, and you went boom, boom, injury. And I went almost my entire career without an injury, except for one at Worlds in Peoria. But
it was so disappointing for me, just as a spectator and a friend of yours and a fan. And and then the host of the Distance Showcase, when I found out that you weren't even going to let it go at the qualifying. But I understood. But I was just like, man, I wanted to see you do this last year, and
I know.
you had a great reason for not being there. And so I'm looking forward. I'm hoping you're healthy at the end of the year, because
I'm gonna do my best to be as strong and healthy as possible.
well, and honestly, like, so we had two ladies carried the water last year, right? I mean,
Hannah was.
Hannah definitely did, but didn't
I don't know if they did. Ella?
What? I thought Ella did barely, and then Hannah got one that was pretty decent.
Hannah got two, I think, pretty decent.
And so,
but I don't
but
think
like, if we could get
Heidi
multiple ladies that'll carry the water this year, I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, it's going to be so off the chains, because the USDGC is 25 is anyways. But like,
Yeah.
just to have, like, we already started talking about rehearsals right after the awards and the Distance
Yeah.
Showcase last year, about rehearsals for this next one, and what we're going to do to tune it up and make sure that it's it's super solid. So
I'm gonna train as hard as I can and try to be, I'm not quite as young as I used to be as these young kids, but I'm gonna give them a fight, that's for sure.
well, that's interesting because the next thing was ageless playing with and against the current
Starting to
crop
feel it.
of boner.
Yeah, but I
you're-
think even though my body is slowly starting to feel it, I think we gain more in wisdom.
Mm.
Like,
you certainly express a great perspective. You've got a great positivity about it all, and not putting the pressure on yourself. I think especially when
Right.
you're younger, you could have free floating confidence until something happens. You
right,
get the yips or the shanks come in or whatever, and then you could be your own worst enemy.
yeah, been
Right.
there, done that, been battling through that for a few years, and it has taken so much to work and get mentally. I mean, we're not only training physically, like I have really been trying to train mentally, and I think, it just takes time. And as Brian and most people know, same thing, start out the year this year like hot and ready, life happens, right? I had to miss, I was so excited to go down to Waco, Austin, Texas States. Life happens, didn't get to do that. Hopefully I get the chance next year. So I'm training, I'm trying to do the best I can mentally and physically, and hopefully life will allow me to get out there and play my best.
I mean, you're certainly a serious presence on the tour wherever you go, whatever you do. I just want to ask you, I notice a lot of your photos and some of your videos, you're usually wearing earbuds.
Yeah.
What's your playlist? Do you have different playlists for practice?
Ask that. No, I don't have a playlist. I honestly, it kind of varies on what gets on there in my ears, but I will put that on repeat. So
Really?
if it is a wide open bomber course, it may have a little more BPM, it may have like a little more beat to it, a little more power, I don't know. If it's more of a tight wooded course or I'm anxious, it may be quite a bit lower and softer. But I will pick that song and go with it as long as because it's just background noise. I don't have them really loud typically, unless something is making me turn it up loud, if there's commotion or whatever. I miss the old cord. Like I would take it off. I would only put those in when I was throwing, and then I would dangle them. I'm afraid to do that now and lose them. I think I'm on AirPod number 4. I think my phone says AirPod 4. So because I always like to take them out and listen. But
Yeah, I always felt like I got too isolated if I was on it too much.
yeah,
And you could be right there with 3 people for 2.5, 3 hours and not have said a word, and just like all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, actually I'm by myself here, and
but that's interesting. That's kind of why one of the reasons I kind of started wearing them, because you get to some of those cards when I was used to playing for fun and having a good time, and then you go on to those big events and it's a little more serious. So I tried to be like, okay, well, you're not supposed to talk. So they kind of gave me something to not talk, so I wouldn't talk so much. And they were always nice in case car drove by and honked, or it just muffled everything. If someone yelled or sneezed or whatever when you were throwing, or aced or what, on another hole, like just
Right.
muffled it to where like maybe it wouldn't affect your shot.
That's interesting. It's more like noise cancellation rather
Yeah.
than a
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Right.
I've been a DJ all my life, so anytime I see people with earbuds or whatever, I was, hey, what do you listen to? That's when you were originally putting on the headphones. I was like, yeah, old school, right? And I think if it was me, I'd probably be lost in the track. But I can understand that reduction to kind of a white wall.
Yeah. So Brian, I think it was the second round, because I feel like it was rain. I think it was raining. Second round of last week. So I added recently 10 new songs to my playlist because we played them for my mother's service. And so and then I downloaded some new songs. And so I accidentally like bumped my ear or something, and it went to one of my mom's songs. And I was like, stop, please. Mini panic attack, because I was like, I don't want to hear that right now.
that's totally understandable. I mean, I think that's one of the things for me, like, I hate, like, I was interesting for what you said about you repeat.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to repeat. I don't want to hear that again. I heard that today. And that's just
Yeah.
me. But I
Because
also, there's so many times when you hear things and
Yeah.
it can trigger you back to when you were 10
for
and take
sure.
you back to a memory that, like, when you and your dad were riding in the car and this song came on, and, and whatever, and who knows what the details are, but I
Yeah.
love that, and that's one of the things that, as an artist, one of my favorite lyrics was from Michael Franti and Spearhead, and he said, "I'd like to leave something that can live on, like the way you hung my song when the music's gone." And so I wonder what I can do in that, because that's like so easy from
Right.
them, and their um, medium. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
my stuff going to be around like that? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
And so,
Yeah.
but it's one of the things I wonder about. Like, what can I do to kind of ensure that some of that will be,
Yeah.
will stay behind?
Yeah. And so that's why I pick a song usually that I know what it is and I know that it's a good just background. It doesn't have a, like as much high or low. Like I think I listened to, and it switched a little bit, like probably even the last round, I switched it more than most of them, but Apologize. I can't even like pronounce the guy's name. Goosebumps by Travis Scott came on. I'm Good by David Guetta. Heaven by Becky Hill. Like it's just like random. Like Peru by Fireboy. Like yeah, so it goes all over.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, being all over the map with it too.
What are your
And
kids?
if you have a bad hole, you change songs, right? Like if
Yeah.
something is not working, change the beat, and refocus. And that's what I do. But that way, if I'm putting or throwing and the song change, it doesn't change, right? So that's why I always like it on repeat until I'm in control to change it. So that way it doesn't mess me up.
And when you go to the higher beats per minute, like what are we talking, like the jungle? Are we talking drum and bass here, like 168 beats a minute?
I don't know. Hey, one time I did bust out the old Iron Man. That used to be our run out song at the football field. So yeah, it's all over the place. A little bit of Limp Bizkit sometimes. I need to really get pumped,
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's on there.
Well, if you ever come to Toronto, we not only do I write you an intro, but we have your theme song, whatever song you want. So make
Nice.
sure it's a banger if you do
Okay.
ever come up.
Okay.
That's a little bit of homework there. That's all.
Yeah. I feel like I do a really good job every year at Emporia to make sure I pick one of the best songs.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, that is like, oh, you're going to play well. I was like, I don't know, but I got a really good song. Like, that's on my list. Like, you must have a good song.
You got to have a good start, a good appearance. You got to look
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah.
Fancy stepping.
I'm the one that comes up to the booth. I'm like, okay, you're going to start at 38 seconds and you're
Nice. Nice.
We like that. We love that.
That's good.
Yeah. So
I wanted to. You've done quite a bit of traveling now, and obviously you've gone to Australia to play golf. If wish list, forget time, energy, money to get there. What's your favorite course that you would go to like tomorrow to play?
I want to go to Finland. And sadly, I received a beautiful invite by placing well at MCO last weekend to the European Open. But the last 2 years, I've not been able to go because they stack Masters Worlds right before it. So literally you get done, you have like 2 days to fly over there, maybe 1 day practice and play. And I'm not going to go over
It's not
there.
fair to you.
No.
It's not fair to yourself to do that. Put yourself through
Yeah.
that.
It's
Yeah.
one thing if you're driving 3 hours or 6 hours, but
Right.
taking an international flight, that's
Yeah.
a little more invested, right?
Yeah. So it just, they do, I hope in the future, I'll word it that way. I hope in the future they look at how they schedule the Masters and the Open majors and just large events. Just because there's a lot of us that not a lot of us, there's a good handful of good players, that play both. Even just FPO, you have Owen, Hokum, Holly, myself, there's 4 great players and I'm not even listing them all. And I think next year we have another great group, that are leveling up. So, and then it's the same in the men, you know, look how long Johnny McRae, you know, battled those kids. So it's
For
not,
sure.
it's not fair that we have to pick one or the other in majors. And it's very difficult to play back-to-back majors. It's just not only physically hard, but mentally it's draining. So, yeah, spread them out.
Well, hopefully we can get you to Finland and show.
Yes,
larger
I'm
showcase.
going no matter what. I'm going whether I play the event or not. And that's what's hard because Hannah and Evelina, you know, I always try to help them when they come over here. They stay with me in Arizona. And, you know, the first couple of years, I really tried to help them with travel. Now they're like pros, I will say. But, you know, all I got to do is get there. They're going to take care of me, you know, rides, where to stay, all of that. So it's
For
like,
sure.
it stinks that I have everything set up, but the schedule. So one day, but I'm going no matter what, whether it's dead of winter, I'm gonna
Well,
go.
PDJ, if you're listening, please.
Exactly.
Now we've talked around this about this, and this is going to lead into what Mace is going to talk to you about. But Innova, my favorite disc golf company, I've been a fan of them for right from the beginning. Wraith, Rock, AVR. Those are my top three.
Yep.
I'm never going to leave my bag. I know that
You need a T-bird.
I know that's your jam. But I'm too shanky and too far spraying to really settle it down. But maybe you could talk to us about, this is Innova's 40th anniversary, as you've already wished them for happy 40th. This is
Yes.
the 25th anniversary of the team and also 25th anniversary of USDGC, which we're all trying to
Super
build
stoked
up.
about.
Super
Yeah.
stoked, and we want to build the
Oh,
momentum
yeah.
up.
Bee's gonna be
until
there.
October. I'm going to be there. I'm going to
Good. Are they going to allow you? I mean, the announcer on hole one's pretty like set.
Oh, no. I'm not taking.
Oh,
any
no,
shot.
no, no, yeah, you ain't
Okay,
getting,
I was
you're not
like-
gonna supersede Andy, that's not gonna
I was
happen.
gonna say that's kind of, but what are you gonna get another cool job? Like,
Well, Mason and I are talking about hosting the podcast every day from.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we'll do some interviews out there for sure.
nice,
And,
nice.
Probably more than just one a day, and then, it's, Jonathan's already given the green light on that,
Sweet.
and so, and then Bender Village. We're running that putting contest. That qualifying is gonna go like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then the finals will be Saturday night in the village.
Nice.
That hopefully, if everything shapes up the way that we're talking about it, I think that Saturday night is really going to be a really, really fun experience for everybody, spectators and players.
So it sounds
Right.
like unless a player like drifts over to the vendor village, we're just going to be dealing with
Partying.
party. Well, yeah. Hey, look at the fedora speaks it all when it comes to the party.
Well, maybe I can jump in the booth with you at some point.
Yeah,
Oh, for
absolutely.
sure.
Love your
Absolutely.
presence. Yeah, veteran like yourself.
Yeah, well, I mean, if
Happy
we
to
can
be
just go ahead and
celebrated.
schedule that up now, if you want to come and talk about rounds or whatever,
right.
Yeah.
we'll be glad to have you.
For sure.
But maybe Mace, you could talk about how Innova started with how you started with Innova, and talk to us about what Innova has meant to you throughout your career.
Yeah. I mean, that was Innova pretty much held down Oklahoma. I mean, there wasn't much else. I mean, Ron Con tried to get me into Discraft a little bit through Legacy as well, briefly, but it was so far in the beginning of their molds that they only had a few molds when I was throwing Legacy. So I had a few molds in the bag, but my entire bag was Innova. So I think my first disc was a Gazelle or a Whippet. I I played with Cat Merch this weekend or last weekend, and she threw this disc and I knew it was old. It just looked like it had the Gazelle or Whippet, I can't remember what I asked her, stamp on it. And I was like, what did you just throw? Because I know she gets a bunch of old, she's not old, but she grabs some old stuff. And I forget who she said had given it to her. Someone down in Texas, I think, had just given it to her, but it was a Thunderbird, so it wasn't that old. But it's all I've ever thrown. Even when I tried to throw Discraft a little bit and I wasn't, I reached out to Innova a couple of times. Back in the beginning of my career, I could scoot down to Texas and beat Paige by 20, and so I was winning a lot of events down in Texas against, Paige wasn't Paige now, but she was still one of the greatest players in the area. There wasn't that many of us.
Sure.
So I had a lot of great wins, but it was locally. It was Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, the surrounding areas. And so Innova wanted me to travel more when I reached out. I'm like, hey, I'm a really good player. Would love to be sponsored by you. You're all I throw. They're like, we need to see you out on the scene more. And so it took me, building and trying to play a little bit more, and let the kids get not infants so I could do that. But yeah, the buzz, I remember when Ron gave me a few discs, like the buzz was probably the only one that stuck in the bag. I had a green one, and Paige would hate when I got it out because it was just like money to the pin. She was thankful that I finally wasn't throwing that anymore, but they just didn't really stick. Like I just never really had, like, I didn't love them like I loved Innova. They've always just fit my game, and I don't even venture out. People are shocked when I say there's so many discs I've never thrown. Like I don't throw Valkyries, I don't throw Beast, I don't throw, there's so many of those go-to old discs, and
but there's so many different, like that's like from a vending standpoint, or from a try to have a little bit of everything standpoint at your event. Like it's impossible.
Yeah.
You can't even have a little bit of everything from one particular brand anymore.
I'm trying to remember how many Callie said on that last little interview thing she did, her post, 3,500 disc or something like that she has in her. I mean, like she tries to carry most everything, but she can't even carry everything. And she has a huge RV.
I asked Sarah one time, like 3 years ago, like probably I think her second year with MVP. I just asked her because she used to work for me doing Christmas lights, and I was like, hey, how many molds? Like if you counted in the different plastics, the different type, and she goes 70 or more just from MVP. So
wow.
So like
I
if you
didn't
think
know they
about
had that many.
Yeah, well, and by the time you split it down to 3 plastics, then it really only takes like 22 to get into the 70s,
Yeah.
25 to get into the 70s.
Well, I only say that I didn't know they had that many just because I saw a little clip of Simon saying, and this may not be right, but I could have swore he said that they don't even make a 13 or 14 speed. And I'm old school. I can't tell you what any of the speeds are. I just know those are drivers.
See, and I'm not big on that. I don't know that either. That's
and
like,
I don't know MVPs.
That's like the metric system. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
World
I tell
distance
people-
record holder in metric.
I tell people when they come up and like, what's this speed? I'm like, so you're new, huh? Old school players we didn't have it, so we didn't learn it. You feel the disc, you know what it does, and you throw it.
You go and throw it, and then you know what it does, and it's like use it for that.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I saw a little clip, and I could have swore he said they don't even make a 13 or 14. So that's why I assumed they didn't have a super ton of disc. But I don't know hardly anything about MVP. So
how long did it take before they finally picked you up?
Oh, I'm so bad with dates and years.
Well,
A couple years, a few years.
It took a little bit.
Yeah. I'm getting out there, winning a few more big events. I think because I won the GBO, which was a big event. It was bad. I mean, it was kind of in the beginning. I don't remember what year it was, but I won a couple big events, and I think that finally got a little more attention.
Well, you've got their attention, they've got your attention. You're officially the co-captain,
Yes.
and you went from having to chase them down to you're the den mother to all these.
Yes, I am the mother of the squad, that's for sure. And I love that. I actually I was speaking to Kat over Monday or whatever, and I just she just immediately texts me, hey, who should I ask for this? Or hey, and I get those all the time, like, who do I reach out for? Or man, this happened, and I'm like, okay, let me try to see what I can do to fix that. And Joe and I have been friends for a super long time, being an Okie. A lot of, there's a lot of Okie
Uncle
ties.
Ka, he's a friend of the show.
A lot of Okie ties with Innova, and just, I've grown a great relationship with Jeff. And so I feel very comfortable immediately texting and reaching out to any of them if I feel like there's a problem, whether one of the girls is upset or if somebody had an issue or whatever. I don't mind immediately making that phone call. And I feel like a lot of the girls on the squad know that. Like, so they call me and feel comfortable talking to me, and yeah, so it works great.
Nice. Well, I mean, they couldn't honestly get a more inspiring and positive role model and leader for sure. And you're delivering the goods. I mean, I just want to transition into your aces. One of the most famous ones that I've seen is your ace at hole number 1 at Winthrop for the Throw Ping Championships. Beautiful shot, right down the gut. Was that the most meaningful ace you've got, or what? If you look back on it, what is
I've
the
had
most
so many.
meaningful
I
ace?
wish I would have counted them better. Like, I really do. Like,
I didn't
And-
count mine either.
oh, it's so frustrating because I have so many. And when people ask, I hate to just throw out 100, but it has to be around 100 aces. Like, I have had 2 days. I've had 2 aces in a day.
Nice.
I had
Wow.
back-to-back aces
Wow.
on the second one. I'm trying to think it was one of the times where I had a break to come home and practice, and I go to Emerald Park. And I don't know if you've been over to Emerald. Okay. It's
Not
the
yet.
one in AB's backyard.
Okay.
So pretty wide open, very small, play 9 holes, but it has so many different kind of shots. Even though there's not a lot of trees, there's turnovers, there's hyzers, there's long ones, there's short ones. So it's a fantastic practice field. And like, I went today and I was the only person there. So I played 9 holes and I threw like 8 shots a hole. So I was practicing last year and aced a hole, turned around next hole, aced again. Luckily, there was a few people out there that did see it. But I had aced, I think the day before. They were all different discs. One was my Wraith on, I'm trying to remember the distance. 2 of them were super long, probably like my longest ace. I think one was like over 350, 355 over the water.
Nice.
That was my ace after my T-Bird. So like, I had 3 in 2 days of my Wraith, my T-Bird, and a Destroyer over the water.
Wow.
So they come in threes. But I got an ace in Hawaii last year, which was super cool. And they had said they didn't know if anyone aced in that hole before, so that was fun.
Right on.
I tried so hard to get an ace in Australia. I didn't, but yeah, I have a lot of fun aces. But that being the first, and technically I was, I guess, the first ace by a woman at Winthrop, and then Paige had to steal my thunder. I was so excited though that she made Sports Center. So at least one of us got on Sports Center that week. So that was super cool. But and I was the first one. And then I almost aced the week after at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Finals. I drilled the cage with my T-Bird. So I go for the basket. Like,
Why
Yeah,
not? Right?
I know
mean,
I know
why not
Mace
add
Man's.
it?
I know Mace Man's hit a huge ace. I think it was what 1700 US.
1667.
woo!
Do you
Back in 93 on the dollar ace spot back at Veterans in the old days.
Dang.
Old layout too.
That
You
With
have-
the
was
old mold Viper.
so veterans.
Nice.
At VPO, I did 3 aces that weekend. One of the years, I don't remember which year. I
What?
aced. Yes, I
During
aced.
the rounds.
No, one was practice day before. It was the downhill, and they said no one had aced it in that position. 14 is coming to mind, but I don't know if that's right.
13. Old
Okay.
13.
Yeah, so I aced that the day before the tournament started. I aced this hyzer coming in during the tournament. And then so it might have been like 12 or something, because I think it was before 13. I think it was that hole where you shoot into the woods.
Oh, okay. That's 15. Kind of going up the hill a little bit, a little skipper.
Yeah. So
And
then the
then,
other one was 16, I think.
16.
And then
16
Yeah.
goes down the hill, and then 17's
Yeah.
got that big rolling, beautiful grass, and then 18
So-
used to be hole 10.
when I aced that one, I think it was 15 during, and that was a cool signed disc because I had all the old school there, like Des, I think JK signed it, Sheila Kirkham, Leslie Todd,
Nice,
like,
nice.
yeah, Danielle, of course. There was some awesome old school girls on that. That's probably one of the only signed discs I've ever kept. When I aced at Worlds, I didn't even have anyone sign it. So that one's probably pretty special to me. But then I also got an ace in the Woods. So
Nice.
but
Yeah, they don't even, with Tea Times, they don't even do Ace in the Woods anymore.
that's so sad. That was so fun.
And it,
Margaritas
like,
and throwing
that's,
frisbees.
I really, I understand the need for Tea Times at times, but
Yeah.
like the Zebo's open. I don't want to ever go to Tea Times on that because we have a barbecue Saturday night. And I think
Yep.
that's really important. I mean,
Well, and that's what they're doing. So I changed my schedule around this year because we have Masters Worlds in Flagstaff. So very, very, very difficult decision for me to not go to Champions Cup because I did win the invite winning the Australia Open. But I will not miss Dela. I love Santa Cruz. I love my friends up there. I will not skip that tournament unless something really bad happens or whatever. So to make the Masters Cup event, and play the Tree Bash event here in Flag, which is the practice to Masters Worlds, I had to kind of rearrange some stuff. But at the reunion tour is what they're calling the Santa Cruz Masters Cup this year, because the old school TDs are coming back, and they are not
really?
doing. Yep, they're
Marty
not
and
doing,
Tom?
Tom's helping. Who did you say?
Marty Habner?
He's helping. Yeah, there's a group. I think the original group is running it.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yes, but I did a great interview with Tom on the podcast about it. He was so excited. I was like, screw it. I'm not going to Champions Cup. Of course, I made a few phone calls to make sure that no one get angry at me for skipping the Champions Cup first major. But yeah, they're doing tee times. We're playing all the old original holes because Disc Golf Pro Tour had came in and you can only play 18 holes. So it kind of started ruining the old vibe of Dela. And so they're having.
That's a very unique ass whooping. I mean, you can't. It's just not right to take 9 of those beaters away from you. I mean,
right.
And like, what do you lose? Like that's. I never even thought about that till right now.
They took out the fridge when Disc Golf Pro Tour came in.
Man,
Yeah.
like how
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like people say, okay, so this argument's gone on and on and on, and obviously that course ranks really high in your book just based on what you're saying right now.
Right.
But like I remember Ron Russell used to go, "Oh, it's the best course in the world," but then other people would argue it's like the least lucky course. Like I mean, like I like literally hole 20, I climbed down and climbed down and climbed down, and like 2/3 of that climb, I realized
I don't
I'm
have
gonna
to
be
do
better
this.
off if I don't find this.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, you can't just cheat, dude. Like seriously, I'm having this chat in my head, right? And I'm going, okay, well, I gave it a little bit more time, and I made sure that everybody know, like, look, I don't know that I'm ever gonna find this, And we kept making some noise. I mean, I just kept on talking about it, basically.
Yeah.
And then they go, all right, that's enough. Come on up here. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Climb back up. Yeah.
and so then you play around, you just play that loop right there.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 holes later, but right before I crossed the road, went over there and found my disc and lost and found. And I'm not kidding you. Like before I crossed the road to go up on the final 3,
Dang.
there's my disc and lost and found. Like 4 holes later.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's but that's that course, right? I mean, how many times did you pitch up by the basket and you find yourself, 40,
for
50,
sure.
100 feet down the canyon or whatever?
Yeah.
I've
abandoned a throw. I've abandoned a throw that rolled away all the way, like jumped the road, kept going. Like it was probably 600-700 feet away. I'm like, bye. Bye, putter.
And that place is totally ready to just put its teeth right into you without any warning at all.
Yeah.
And,
So it's definitely one. I believe Tom even said, I don't know if, the champ agreed to come or not, but he was even going to try to get Kenny up there just to play poker. Like,
Wow.
so they're trying to get every winner. They made a list of who's won since the tournament has been there. And it was super cool too. They also did a reverse registration. So 80s and 70-year-olds got first tier to sign up, then 60, then 50, then the 40-year-olds could sign up. So this is for the old school. So I'm
That's awesome.
super,
When is that?
next weekend.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Wow.
So same week as Champions Cup. But
Well, listen, we've been blessed with your presence. We don't want to hold you up too much. We know
no,
you're
good.
got,
We could chat forever.
But definitely thank you for coming on here. Thank you for spitting some great wisdom and dropping some great stories. Hopefully people will, you know, take heart in what you say. You've got a lot of great perspective, a lot of great points to it all. You're obviously a pro in every aspect of the game, and you know, the game needs people like you. The game needs you. So thank you for coming on our show. Mace, anything else you want to add to that?
Let's cover one thing that we just kind of glazed over really quick before we go. You took second this weekend.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a little bit. That's one thing, like we kind of talked about it a little bit about the only thing I don't think we really covered quite well was that fact, and the fact, okay, you're playing, and we did talk about this, you're playing FPO most of the time.
Yeah.
But do you have an idea what your percentage is going to be this year of Masters versus Open? Are you just leaning mostly towards Open all the way? And then talk about taking second this weekend and those horrible conditions and everything.
That was my best round, was in the rain. And I didn't have a caddy. Man, I wanted a caddy, but I didn't have a caddy. And I didn't fly my Zuka because I was just going out there for just the one tournament. And I figured it was going to rain, or I thought there's a possibility. So I thought, well, my group bag has the rain fly, the Zuka doesn't. So that was why I was doing that. But man, I felt like I was carrying around a house and like the umbrella and the extra jacket. No one enjoys playing in the rain because you feel like you just got so much crap. But
I can do it, but if I don't ever have to again in my life, it'll be too soon.
Exactly. And holding the umbrella while you're trying to do score, like, no, it's not fun. But first I'll answer, I will play all the majors in Masters, as well as I'm trying to play all the majors, clearly not the Champions Cup, but I try to play all the majors in both. If the schedule allows for it, I'll play. Clearly this weekend I'm playing age protected for the reunion. Other than that, I don't think, besides the age protected majors like Tim Zielinski, the US Masters and the Worlds, Masters Worlds, I don't think there's any other ones I'm signed up for. So as long as I'm going to try to play all the other Disc Golf Pro Tour events that I can.
What about US Women? Which division are you going to play US Women?
I will probably play Masters. Since I won that last year.
Well, that'd be a huge field there, right? I mean,
huge field, and that's why I did it last year as well. And that was really hard because we had 100 women in FPO. So
that's a tough one, right?
It was really difficult, but I had initially told myself that I wanted to play the age protected majors in that. And so that I talked with Sarah multiple times on flipping, and I just stuck with my gut and won it. So I'd like to try to repeat that as well. So, but yeah, this week was crazy because I haven't had a lot of time to practice, even though I've been off and I had to skip all those events. I'm trying to think if I played Duncan Hill Climber when I was back in Oklahoma. Because I happened to be there for that weekend. And so that was, one of Joe's first big events, one of his many great events.
I still never made that one. I mean, and I don't even really play. I'm not interested in playing tournaments, but I'd go up there. I'd go up there just to help Joe, just because I mean, Uncle Cuz pretty cool.
And it's kind of the Winfield setting, right? It's nothing compared to Winfield, but that's kind of what they tried to recreate. It's campgrounds, 2 courses, you walk out, people will have a great time all night long, sleep there, camp there. This old person went and got a hotel from over camping, but that might have been my only round I played for the whole several weeks I was in Oklahoma. It was windy, horrible. And I say windy, I'm talking like 30, 40 miles per hour a day. Practice would have been pointless. I did put the basket in my dad's garage and was doing a little bit of putting in the garage and in his house. I brought it in the living room and did some putting in the living room, which makes you focus because you don't want to break anything in your parents' house. So
Yeah, right.
I did some putting, but then after I came back here, like I had a little bit of practice and then it was time to go. And so even though I felt like I should be prepped and ready, like I hadn't really been playing. So, and then I had planned on 2 days practice when I got there. I sat on the on the runway for an hour and a half in my flight over from Arizona because of the big storm. So I think they like stalled us because clearly our weather was fine. I mean, they stopped us as we had already taxied and they stopped us. So
Yeah.
I think they made us wait to time the storm. And then I think we went like down to Houston and then up along the storm. And so I landed as the storm was about to hit. So right about 3:30 there. So there went that practice day. So Wednesday was out. So I had Thursday and that's a big course. And there's a lot of placement shots. And so I tried to be pretty smart about it on the first day, not play too aggressive. Definitely made some error, like on hole 1, first day, took a 6. I then proceeded to take only 6 more strokes the next 2 rounds. I got a 3 on, I birdied it the next 2 days. And it was just because I didn't know, right? And so I thought I could get a Mako to clear 300 feet, and that was not the case. So I got in jail. But it was funny, like, all this pressure, you start on the first hole. And I was so proud of myself, which I think set the tone for the entire event. I got to that horrible shot on hole 1, jail completely. I'm looking up like we do in Oklahoma. I see the tiniest little hole at the top of the tree. And I'm like, I think I can get my Firebird through there. And so Spike Heiser Firebird through this gap, which everyone thought I was just going to pitch out. But the basket was like just maybe 100 feet on the other side. And so, and I was on the back of it. I didn't even penetrate into the woods at all. So I think on the last round, you see Kristen like halfway through. No, I was right up on the edge of it. So I had to shoot up and over. It was so thick. I thought it was perfect. I was stoked. Get up there. I guess it hit the last tree and kind of rolled back in. So then I had to pitch out again, which I thought was great. Took a 6. It's probably the happiest 6 I've ever taken. Proceeded to screw up the next hole and again got myself into this horrible spot that I threw an incredible upshot. I was so happy. I think I might have saved par, might have even bogeyed it, but like I just kind of chuckled because I was like, I was so proud of myself from shooting out of the crap and trying to hit these perfect lines. And it's funny because I even had someone comment on my videos not too long ago, a few weeks ago, like, oh, you only post your drives. You don't ever work on upshots or putting, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow, it'd be so cool if I had my own camera guy and I could just video everything. But I'm usually asking my son, who is also trying to play. And so I'll make him record 1 or 2 shots and then we put the phones up and we play golf. And so I was just chuckling because like, my best shots were my upshots last week. I had some great drives, but like I was so proud of my upshot and I was so proud of my putting. And where it came from, I really don't know. I found a confidence in the fact that I had 0 expectations. I got there, I had 1 practice round. I had never played that tournament or course ever in any kind of configuration. I'd never been there. And so I said, this is your first event back. Let's shake the rust off. Let's go have some fun and just try to execute shots. And that's all I did was 1 shot at a time, just trying to execute that shot. Second day, I corrected things I learned after the first round and tied for the hot round of 3 down. And just really kind of couldn't capitalize on Sunday, like made a few errors. But you know, it's funny, I kicked myself clearly for the very last F shot. I don't know if you watched it or didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it.
Okay, you would be, I think, pretty proud and shocked of me as well, Mace, because if I birdied the hole, which I had an eagle attempt in practice, of course, it's a very easy hole for me to birdie because I have great distance, right? So I get 2 up there. I just poorly executed that last F shot in, but I'm sitting there and I know if I birdie, well, I didn't really know, but I knew I needed to birdie, right? I knew Macy and I were battling it pretty close. I didn't know, I didn't look to see if anybody else had moved up, and which there was some great rounds by Rebecca, by Evelina, you know, they were charging, but I knew I should birdie it. And I'm sitting in this place to where really the only shot is a forehand. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying not, I always feel the pressure, like I can't take too much time. Like I feel that rushed, you know, like someone's going to start a clock or something. And so I was like, I probably should not do a forehand. That's literally the least practice shot and a shot I just learned. And I only throw my Yeti putter when I forehand, and it was pretty breezy. But I told myself that was the shot. So I could have probably tried to flip over a putter and approached it with something that was consistent and more accurate in my game. But if I don't try the shot, I'm never going to learn it. And I went with it. It was almost perfect and caught the last branch, and it made me tie Macy instead of winning solo second. But I was totally okay with it after the fact. I mean, yes, I wonder, you know, if I would have done it better, then I would have had to make a putt on an elevated basket in the wind in front of a lot of people. That would have been pressure. So might not have changed anything. So I was proud that I trusted myself enough to know the shot that should have been thrown, and I tried it. And so when it all comes down to it, it really didn't change much. You know, Macy and I tied. I absolutely love Macy. There's not another girl I would love to tie with. I was so proud. You know, she thought she was looking at the scores. So she thought she had thrown it all away on hole 17 because she went out of bounds. Came up to me crying. I give her the hug. It's okay. I don't even know the scores, but here I am holding her and trying to pump her back up, wipe her tears. We got one more hole, girl. Let's go do this. And when she made her putt to tie, you know, I was so happy for her. And I think that's something I really hope that we keep in the game. You know, we can be happy and cheer on your competitors and still be competitive, right? Like
For sure.
the best score wins. If you didn't produce that score, you don't deserve to win, right? So if somebody else is able to tie that or beat that score, they won. That's how golf works, right? So I had a lot of people reach out to me and message me that kind of came across in the broadcast, and I'm super happy that it did. You know, a lot of people asking, oh, you and Macy like best friends? Like we played together maybe 5 times a year, but I know she genuinely wants me to do my best, and I genuinely want her to do the best. So when we play together, cool shit happens.
Nice.
And that's
So-
it's nice when it's like that too. When
Yeah.
you know, when that's one of the things. Like, you know, I really got into watching UFC fights because like those guys, they're like all hugging up and you know talking and having a big long chat at the end and like
Yeah.
showing huge amounts of sportsmanship
Respect.
and yeah, and respect and the camaraderie and everything. And
Yeah.
obviously, our camaraderie in the sport is almost unsurpassed. You know, and
Right.
and you know, and that's one of the reasons why we all stick around. I
Yep.
think too,
It's
because
exactly why
you know,
we're
I
here.
mean, there's just so many different, well, you know, all these different situations. I mean, I remember hanging out with you guys at 99 in Kansas City. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I remember the tornado day, but like
Yeah.
later on, then we see
Yeah.
each other, and I was like, wow, cool. Here's some new
How
friends. I mean,
baby and
here's-
crazy and steady.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
and you know,
it was a pretty good
and
time.
honestly, that's where I got the idea to have the barbecue at Zebo's on Saturday nights. Is from the old days at the KC Wide Open. I mean, think about
Yeah.
all those good times we had there.
Oh,
you
I
know,
know.
in the
I
parking lot at the
I
Hall
signed
Dome.
up.
You know,
I signed up to play that event because I missed that event. I love that event. and it's right before Masters. So I had to back out because I couldn't play Masters doubles or do any of the field events if I played Casey Wide Open. So it really, I know a lot of my events, the old school events I want to go back and play, it just sometimes doesn't work out, but it's definitely why we fell in love with the game. And so as this game is growing so much and all these new kids, which is wonderful, I want to make sure to try to carry on why we fell in love with it. Like we're doing this because we love the game and we love each other, and it's not just a do or die sport. So that's my goal.
Well, and that's what we're up to. I mean, we're trying to share a lot of the stories that a lot of these people don't even know to ask about, you know.
Yeah.
And we're friends with all those people that created those stories, you know.
Right.
So Skip Maxwell just popped on and he said that you had an amazing performance last week and he really enjoyed watching it. And he's like, ask her about the 3 aces at Veterans Park Open. Sorry, Skip, we already talked about that. You'll have to go back and watch. When I archive all these, it'll be on our YouTube page and you can
And
watch that. But
I didn't finish that because we started yakking on something else, but that ace was probably so special because, I mean, get Stat Mando on it or whatever, but supposedly they wrote on the disc that was the first NT Super Tour, whatever you want to call it, ace by a woman.
oh, nice.
Snap.
So
So that was written on the disc with a lot of cool people. So that ace is probably my most special.
Okay.
Winthrop definitely right there. Hawaii definitely right there. There's a lot of cool ones, but yeah, I'm glad Skip remembered that weekend. It was super, super cool. Super cool weekend. I miss VPO. That's another one I'd love to come back to, as well as your event down there. I mean, the doubles.
We're working on it. We're working on it. It'll be more tempting soon.
All right.
I think. I mean,
it's pick a good weekend, and that I know that's impossible.
not
but
Santa Cruz, not the Santa Cruz weekend,
Yeah,
not the
it's
Norman Pro-Am weekend.
so hard.
We
but-
usually end up on the Norman Pro-Am weekend, unfortunately. That middle of May is a really good sweet spot, but that I didn't really have a lot of cooperation on the schedule this year. So I'm like the same
May?
weekend as Glass Blown,
Oof,
which is
yeah, that
not
part's-
good.
No.
Yeah.
May is booked. May is like one of the busiest. I think even June is lighter and April is lighter, but May is like so many. So maybe try to dodge May next year.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's I'm definitely going to look at it a lot harder. It's just that the way for the schedule for me, it really is with the Christmas light business, it's so hard to pay
Yeah.
attention to that kind of thing because there's just 10 other things that you really need to pay attention right now because
Could
10
you-
more are coming. And
Could you get into it kind of with that Texas swing? Like, is there any way?
it's a possibility. And that's so here's the thing with that is that all my locals want me to do that. And everybody's pushing really hard to do that. But the thing is that they don't realize is that like, okay, if you go and do that once, that's not worth anything.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do it 5 or 10 times.
Yeah.
And those events they're putting a bunch of dough in those events. And I know a lot of people and I've run a lot of events and stuff like that. And one of the things I'm fully aware of is like, yeah, it's not easy to put 20 grand together the first time,
Oh,
let alone
heck
5
no.
times. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
like there'd have to be, I'm not opposed to doing it, but I'm not paying for it. You know what I mean?
I didn't say you need to get on that level, but if you could time the event to where like we were all, or like some people were down that way,
Mhm.
just the
Yeah,
timing
well,
of it.
that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, but I would. Well, and the other thing too is like I know that Zebos is a tough course, but I
Yeah.
also know that like I remember like I was looking at the scores recently because I did the I put the names on the back of the trophies for that event too, and so
Uh-huh.
like I was looking at scores that Barry shot in the 2002 2003. And he was smashing that course back then. Not
How many-
everybody was.
How many
but
times
he
did I
was.
win it?
I think you
How
had
many
it 3 times. I think it's
Nice.
3 times.
I think one of my favorite memories was when we played the doubles, and I don't remember the kid's name, but I think because I won, I got number 4, right, in
Mhm.
the men MPO, who got 4th, and he had won Advanced Worlds that year, and he
Man, I don't
wasn't
know.
that great yet. He was not one of the best MPO there. And so hole one, which is like this down the pipes,
Yeah.
he immediately shanks me completely in the back 40, right? Like in
Yeah. Oh yeah.
crap. And I believe Danny Stacy was caddying for me, I believe. And he was like, F him. Like, he put you here. Who cares where you put him? You guys didn't win this hole. And he's like, just throw it. And so I just threw it. It hits and rolls up next to the pin. Do you remember that? It's probably one of my favorite memories.
I think I do remember that.
Yeah, we saved par. Like I don't think we won the hole, but we saved it from being won. And I literally had nothing. I didn't aim. I just chunked an overhand throw and put it next to the basket.
You gotta be good to be lucky.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
so, but I would love to make it back down to that event. It's definitely.
Well, it's that we're working on it, and that is another place you could show up and win one of my trophies. Just an FYI.
Noted.
I know you're one of the people that
Noted.
definitely want to know about that. So
When I came home from, wasn't Oklahoma, may have been, I don't know, one of my tournaments recently. Someone had moved it, like the vases. So I have the one I purchased and then I have owns on the like by my TV. And I was like, Kelson, who moved the trophy? It's like, I'm like, if you have a party and these
That's
trophies
awesome.
get broken, you are out of the house, out of the will. You're like, don't break this crap. So yeah, they're special for sure. I want to win a few more for sure.
yeah, well there you go. Well, I'll keep posted. I'll keep you posted where they pop up
Okay.
at.
Cool.
I'm good like that.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, thanks a lot for stopping by. It's it's always a pleasure to talk with you. I really, really enjoyed the talks that we had.
Yeah.
In Phoenix this year for obvious reasons. And
Yeah, I'm doing better. I don't cry I cried today. I was kind of afraid coming on because like it was one of those days. You do when you lose a parent, I will say, maybe not for everybody, but for me, I cried every day for a month. And it's true what people say. It was really weird. Like when that 1 month hit, it was like a little bit of weight was lifted and you could breathe a little easier. But then it's still like every other day or so.
yeah,
But it does get easier with time. Do you miss them less? No. Today was just one of those days. She was with me my entire practice round. So cool story. My mom's a hummingbird. That'll be a story for another episode. But I think what song I'm not gonna be able to one of my good old, When You See Him Again songs, who sings it? But anyways, it came on when I was driving to the practice to Emerald today. And When You See Him Again, you guys probably know who sings it. I could look it up, but anyways, rap song, probably not my mom's favorite choice, but it always brought a tear to my eyes anyways. And so that came on driving to the course. I, recorded it, sent it to Brian and a few of the good friends, like thinking of mom today or whatever. Get to hole one, hummingbird drops down right before the tee. Okay. Hi, mom. Hole two, hummingbird. Hole three, hummingbird. Just flying in the sky. There's no flowers at Emerald. Okay. So I don't know what that hummingbird was looking for, but to me, it was my mom and she watched me my whole practice round. And so it's one of those things like makes you happy, but makes you sad. But today was one of those days. So I was really proud of myself. I thought I was going to come on and cry. I've done good. I'm doing better. I tried really, really, really hard last week not to win it for my mom. And I know that sounds really stupid. And I would have thanked her, of course, if I would have won. But I was not going to put that pressure on myself to win this for my mom. Right? Because no one plays good under pressure. I'm finally starting to figure this out. So I will win it for my mom after it's won. I'll say that and whatever, but I'm going to try really, really hard not to put that kind of pressure on myself, but she will clearly be with me. She was with, San Diego. That's when the trophies got moved. I just went out and played the Daniel Bowe Memorial and I came home and the trophies were moved. But same thing, stepped up on that course every day, hummingbird during my round. And so it's hard. It's hard to focus because it makes you happy, but it also takes away your focus. So that's where I'm at. Like I'm
It's a
in that
tough-
stage. Yeah.
It's a tough distraction to deal with.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know it'll get better, but I was able to figure it out this weekend. I greatly feel like I can build on what I learned and practiced and accomplished this weekend or last week. And so I hope that I have a few more of those incredible moments this year because I think I'm kind of figuring it out.
I think
I
you
Okay.
got a
will.
feeling you will.
Took me 23 years, but I think
Right on, right on.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I
That's
do look
right.
forward. I hope to meet you in person in
Yeah.
South Carolina, and I hope to catch up with you on what happens from here until there.
hopefully
And
there's some cool stuff.
don't forget
Oh,
when you
I'm
pack
sure there
for
will
the
be.
road trip, bring that 6-pack whoop ass and open it on the kids. All
Yep.
right,
Yep. That's the plan.
that's it. Well, thanks
Thank you
again.
guys.
We much appreciate you being on here. You're a graceful, wonderful person, and good luck with all the shots that you throw.
Thank you so much.
Right on. Thanks for stopping by, Jen.
Thank
Love
you.
ya.
Love y'all too. Have a good one. All right. Let's drop the live.